this. How's better?
That's better.
Okay, perfect. So I want to start just to recap a little bit about the last 2 weeks. We've talked a lot about value, and I think we kind of beat it to death last week to say basically anything you do, just be consistent and excellent in everything you provide. And then, giving counsel, go the extra little bit more than what your competitors do and what you can do to provide that extra bit of value. Any questions on that session? And I've got Nancy on the line from AKFC as well. And Nancy, you were part of our workshop on Friday. Any questions or anything you have, any concerns about the value part of the conversation?
No, I thought that was good. It kind of validates what we have been trying to do recently.
Mm-hmm.
So today I just wanted to have a refresher.
Okay, good.
Join this session.
Excellent. Aaron, do you have any questions on the value portion?
No, I'm good.
Okay, perfect. You're Mr. Value anyways, I know that. Awesome. So today we're going to talk about compensation and influence. Good, we got some people joining in. So, we talked a little bit about the Gore giveaway. There's 5 portions to this. You can start your process at any of these items. You can be real, you can build networks, you can touch lives, you can create value, you can stay open. Any of these is a way for you to start giving value and getting more in compensation. Now, compensation is pretty interesting, right? It's we're not doing this for free. Remember, it's not the pay it forward concept. Pay it forward is a great concept. I think we all do it anyways, but this is about giving more in value so that you can actually get paid fairly and make a good living at it. Or in AKFC's realm, actually collect more donations for alleviating global poverty. Now, how do you get more compensation just by providing more value? The idea is to provide more value to more people to get more compensation. It's pretty simple math. Your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So the more people you're touching their lives, the more people you're actually providing more value to, the more compensation you get. It's really simple math, right? Now, Bob Burg and John David Mann actually have a really interesting way of putting this. It says the first law determines how valuable you are. That is, it describes your potential income, how much you could earn. But it's a second law that determines how much you actually do earn. To put it another way, your compensation is directly proportional to how many lives you touch. So if you're doing this incredible value ladder and doing everything possible just for one person, and that's it, well, unless you're charging that person millions of dollars, you need to start doing providing value to more people. So your compensation is not a reflection of your goodness, worthiness, merit, or industriousness. It's an echo of impact. We as human beings love to be liked. We like to be welcomed. Now, it's how you impact the person you're talking to is going to determine whether you're going to get further compensation from that person, whether that person is going to be part of your circle of influencers or circle of customers or clients. So if we look at exceptional value plus how many people you reach, it equates to very high compensation. Aaron, how would life be if you only had one sale?
I'd have a lot more time, but I wouldn't have a lot of money.
Unless you sold Chip Wilson's house once a year, right? Then you'd be okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So the idea here is to do what you guys do it really well, but now you have to do it to more people. And this part of the conversation is going to go really quickly because it's common sense. It's the second part of this conversation. It's about networking, which we're already going to get into a little later. So what I want to start talking a little bit about is, okay, so making sales is a concept, touching lives is a reality, sales is not about concepts, it's about people. And we've talked about that before. We're not into the sales training session here. This is not about talking about what impact we're making in sales. It's about how are we touching people's lives and where are we touching them. So here's some ideas, and where do you get your people from? You can get them from these 7 items here: local networking events, social events, trade shows, advertising, social media, charity events, referrals. I love number 7. I think number 7 is the easiest way to make the biggest impact to more people. As you start providing the value that you provide to, you just keep on getting referrals. And if you do it well, your referral source will be your compensation source. Now, we talked a little bit about your value ladder last week. I'm hoping you've had a chance to look at that. Nancy, we actually didn't do a whole lot on Friday on the value ladder, but I've got a session this afternoon with your team to go through some of that and just see how that works out. I really recommend that each of you really look at where your ladder, how your value ladder starts up and where you end up, and what appreciation you're doing at every single value session as well. And again, if you need help with that, reach out to us. We're more than happy to just have a one-on-one Zoom meeting and draw that out, because it can get pretty daunting and it can get really detailed, and you don't really have to. So let us know if there's something that we can help you out with. Now, this section here, customer lifetime value, it gets really technical, but it's really simple. I'm not going to go through it in detail. We're going to send you these slides, so I want you to work out what your cost per customer is for lifetime. And the reason you do this is, imagine, like I said, if you only had one customer, then you just know what your end result is. The idea here is to figure out what your customer's value is for the lifetime that you have. And now you multiply that by how many referrals you're getting, and you see what that value of that one customer is. There's some acronyms here. AVS stands for average value or revenue of a sale, number of repeat transactions, average retention. What's your recurring revenue from that customer, I guess, and then your acquisition costs. There's some double brackets and triple brackets here, so I'm hoping math is good for you guys. Remember BODMAS from the elementary school days. So I'm gonna skip this section because it gets into really detail, but I want you to really look at this as we send you the slides. The acquisition cost is interesting. It's the amount you're willing to spend per customer per marketing campaign. The cost must be less than the profit you make on your first sale. Make the most sense when cash flows are concerned. Marketing always seems to be the last thing people do. They start looking at sales and start looking at different ways of gaining customers, but they forget about the marketing costs, forget about the marketing aspect of it. I recommend you start looking at how your lead generation is happening, and then once the lead generation comes in, what your value proposition is to them. Okay, so I'm gonna skip some of this stuff here. Okay. Net promoter scores. We actually had a conversation about this a couple of days ago with a client. And how do you know you're doing a good job with your existing customers? Here's a book. The ultimate question is how the net promoter score thrives the customer world. On a scale from 1 to 10, how likely is that you would recommend a company or product to a friend or colleague? Which is a great way of doing it. There's a net promoter score that you can ask a question in a survey. The conversation we had with a prospect or with a client on Monday, and I basically said, the best way to figure out what your net promoter score is to physically get on the phone and talk to them or go see them and really see where you can improve, exactly where you're at in the cycle, what impact you had in their lives. And it's not about how well did we do, how good of a service did we do, would you use this again? It's more about, did we make an impact to you and your team? How can we make a further impact? How can we improve on that impact? And if we did such a great job, is there anybody else you really think that could utilize the same service that we provided to you? And that'll be your net promoter score. If you get a referral, you did a good job. If you didn't, you need to improve your value. Okay. So how do you start providing value and compensation? You start talking about systems. We talked about excellency and consistency in value. This is Michael Gerber. He's got a great saying: systems permit ordinary people to achieve extraordinary results predictably. So what's your current system that you have in place for marketing? How are you following up with people? How are you reaching out to them? How are you sending thank you letters? Is it a system in place that's consistent every single time? So here's a sheet that we're going to send out to you, and start looking at where your current systems are, some new ideas, and then create a proper system around it. We internally are going through a bit of a revamp of our systems right now, just because we have a lot more connections in our funnel now. We need to manage them. Saima alone can't manage them. She's great, but she can't manage more than 100 connections at a time in her head. We need to start putting a really good system in place. And myself, being a very driven person, is asking for something that's all in one. And so we're going to find the right system that's going to work for us, that allows us to do email campaigns, it allows us to do follow-ups to people like yourselves, puts you in the right buckets, making sure that we send you the right blogs, making sure the event management is done. So we're going through a whole system process change right now as well. And that's because we need to make sure that we're consistent in providing the best service and value to our clients. So here's some ideas on email marketing systems. I know the realtors, you guys have your own systems that you use. There's things like MailChimp, iContact. In the CRM side of worlds, is Salesforce, Infusionsoft. We use something called Trello. There's Evernote. A little trick of mine, I use Evernote for when I'm at a networking event, and I take a picture of it. I'm going to talk about that a little later, but it's basically, we put all of our connections into Evernote so that I make notes of who I'm talking to and what it's about. Then it comes back into a different system. But it's just basically what your systems are. And here's another worksheet that we're going to start talking to you. We'll send this off to you. So let's talk about what why does Apple, Airbnb, and Uber, and Tesla, why do they stand out? What are they about? You look at, we talked about Apple initially in the first conversation. They have the why. They bring consistency. They bring the digital world into one platform and make it easy for users. That's why they're successful. I was in Ottawa on Friday. I landed at 1:20 in the morning, and the first thing I did was I got off the plane. I had a carry-on. As I'm walking out of the gate, I called up Uber. I hit my Uber app, and by the time I walked out, the car was there ready to go, and I got in there, and I was at the hotel in 20 minutes. Now, there was taxis there as well, but I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure what the taxis were like or anything else, but I know Uber works. I've used it before. They've got an easy system. I also know that they're waiting for me, and they're going to take me straight there. There's no conversations required. It's done. I don't need to worry about payments. It's all taken care of. Look at Tesla, a battery-operated car that charges $100,000. Now, if you really looked at that case study, it's going to take many years to pay for that car because of the savings of gas. But Tesla's done such a great job in marketing to that niche market that they're doing really well. Airbnb, the largest hotel rooms in the world, and they own no real estate. Just think about that. These guys are the largest source of a room, but they don't have to own any hotels. And they're making more in revenue than any of the larger hotels are. When I had my IT company, one of the things that we really leveraged was our connections with our distribution channels. We had large vendors like Lenovo and HP, and we're still in touch with them. They're actually helping us out with Dante as well. But in this side of relationships, it was the relationship we built with them was more about how are they going to make our lives easier and how are we going to help them. That relationship was very friendly, personal, and no matter what was required, they helped us out. Leverage on those relationships that you have. Realtors, you think about the people that you connect with, the chimney cleaners, the gutter cleaners, the inspectors, the gardeners. Start building really good relationships with those guys, because they're the ones who are going to start giving you some referrals and make that reach deeper. We work with certified consultants, coaches, and speakers as well to build our network of people out there. So, that's pretty simple stuff here. This is the exciting part. I think a lot of the realtors that are on right now have gone through a bit of this with me. And I remember coming into that conversation and I said, referrals usually come after you provided service, so that you can prove that you've done a great job, and now you get referrals. I invite you to put that notion away and think about a referral is anybody you build a connection with. So first, you want to build an army of people that are going to give you referrals, and those are, I call them centers of influencers. So as you build a center of influencers, what does it do? They give you referrals. What's a referral? Why does a referral make life easier for you? Well, it's easier to set an appointment with. There's already a conversation in place. They trust you just because somebody else recommended you. You're not worrying about price at that point. You're really on the value conversation. It's easier to complete the sale. That's pretty, it's a broad statement. The nice part about this, if it's a referral, the customer's mindset is already set that they're going to do business with you. Think about when you give a referral to somebody, you're actually really, I want to use the word pumping that person's value up already. So when that conversation happens with the two people, the mindset's already there. Hey, I trust you, I like you. I don't even know you, but this other person likes you and does business with you, so I may as well. The mindset's already in place. The other item here is that a referral-based business. We're talking about compensation and the reach. If you build your referral-based business really well, you make more money. Simple as that. You have a higher closing ratio, so you do a little bit less work. Your percentage of ensuring referrals, you're well positioned as a referral-based professional. I like that one because actually, I'm going to open this up to the realtors. Simon, can you open it up? I just want to have a conversation. Okay, realtors, imagine life without a referral network. And now imagine life with only a referral network that you had to do no marketing. All you had to do was build your centers of influencers, and all you did was sit in the office and wait for referrals to come in. Which one would you rather have?
Referrals.
So why aren't you guys doing that?
We're trying.
Okay. So, it's interesting that we spend more, and this is not only to realtors, this is to everybody out there. We spend more time and money on marketing for lead generations than we do on referrals. After this conversation, I'm hoping that you'll start looking at referrals as a better way of lead generation than the actual lead gen route you guys take right now. Let's go back on mute for a second. So I like number 6. You have a lot more fun. I know anytime I get a referral from somebody else, it's a very relaxed conversation. I'm not trying to provide the value right off the bat. I'm actually just getting to know the person just because it's a referral and there's a common ground already to talk about. Now, what keeps us from getting referrals or asking for referrals? Well, we're afraid of rejection. We're talking past the sale. So, you're at that sale and now you're actually, you're doing some fluff, trying to go beat around the bush to ask for that referral. You're keeping them too long in the cycle. Number 4, people say that you're acting desperate when you ask for a referral. I disagree. I think it's really important to be providing the value that they're already thinking about, hey, who else can use this person's service? So if they're already doing that, then it's not a matter of desperation. It's actually part of the sales process, and they're expecting that because you've already provided the value. Number 5, not knowing how to ask properly. We've got a great way of, it's a simple question on that one. I'll get to that in a second. Things to keep in mind. Referrals are not just an intangible benefit to your business, but a concrete, vital, and profitable asset that you should focus on making a natural part of your business. They're not a bonus. They're not a surprise, or at least they shouldn't be. They are a part of your business and of what you do. I've got AKFC on the line right now, and they are in the business of helping others alleviate global poverty. They're a foundation where they go out and ask for donations, and I'm part of that foundation. I do a lot of work with them, and I'm just sitting back and saying, even in that realm of my being, if all I had to do was go and build a referral business in the donation world, as opposed to going out and marketing, life would be so much easier. So it's not just in realtors, it's also in the foundation, not-for-profit world. It's also in sales. It could also, you think about a clothing store. You think about just a mom and pop clothing store. And in South Surrey, there's one called J. Gregory. He's just a one-man, not a one-man, but it's a small store out in a complex. I can almost guarantee you he survives based on referrals only. I don't see a lot of advertising from him, but when you go in there, you get the level of service that's incredible. So he survives on that. Then you turn around and you look at people like, I don't know, Zara or Club Monaco or Banana Republic. They do a lot of marketing. There's more about masses in there. I'm more about, let's build a business based on a referral product so that you're not having to work as hard in the lead generation aspect of things. So from now on, if you kept that going, what would your world look like if it was all referrals? Just reflect on that. Just think about right now, you're done with marketing. You're done with lead gen. Now, please keep in mind, I'm not telling you to stop that. Please don't stop that, because you're going to come back to me tomorrow and say, look, you have no more business. You have to balance it out. But I invite you to start looking at the referral aspect of things a lot better, and how that's going to help you and what your world looks like if you start looking at that. Referrals are not necessarily the result of a good presentation or a result of a satisfied or even ecstatic customer. Referrals are the result of doing the correct thing in the referral gathering process. We have all given fantastic presentations and even had ecstatic customers, and yet not received a referral from them. I can relate to that. I know I've done great presentations. I've done a great sales work, and we've actually done a great workshop. We've gone through the whole process, and we haven't received a referral. That's because we didn't ask, and we didn't provide the value and the connection with those people to really make an impact. I talked a little bit about your referrals don't only come from your sale, not from when you've delivered a product or a service. Referrals come from people you're actually touching their lives and building connection with. I love sharing this story. One of my favorite lead generation referral sources is my Starbucks barista. And I've got a Starbucks just around the corner from here, and I go there quite a bit, and I have meetings because it's a good place to sit and chat with prospects or just build relationships. When I walk into the Starbucks, they kind of know I'm a high maintenance coffee drinker. You can tell I've got my Starbucks already. And as I walked in, she said same thing. I said, yeah, make it happen. And she, she did it. We talked a little bit. And how's the day going? A few weeks ago, I was sitting down working, and she comes up to me. She goes, "What do you do? You're always in here talking to different people, and it seems like you guys are having a good time." I said, and I told her what I did. I said, I help people change lives. I help people get to where they want to get to. She goes, "What does that mean?" So I kind of explained to her, and she goes, "Okay, that's cool." I go, "Why?" She goes, "Well, I know a lot of people that come into the Starbucks, and they're all regulars, so I want to introduce you to people." So this is my Starbucks barista that's actually just a friend now, or an acquaintance. Um, Actually, the interesting part is, even at that point, she didn't really know what my name was. She just knew the regular. She just say, "Oh, regular." I said, "Yeah." So after she asked what I did, she got to know my name. I got to know her name. Now, as I'm sitting there, if she thinks I need to meet with somebody, she'll give me a nudge and say, "Okay, I want to introduce you." So she'd actually bring somebody over and introduce me and say, "Hey, you guys should talk to each other. I think there's some commonality, or get to know each other." Now, I've done nothing for her except for build a relationship. We're not the best of friends. We're acquaintances, but we look like we have actually touched each other's lives and built a connection and a relationship that she has enough trust in me to say what I do and deliver that and actually have fun doing it. So my invitation to you is, I want you to drop the relationship that referrals and references only come from people you've done work with. They can come with people you've actually built relationships with. We're going to get a little bit into networking right now, and the law of influence again. What could possibly cause your impact to reach out beyond the people to touch the lives of those you've never even met? It's your influence, your impact, right? Your influence is driven by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. If you started talking to people in a way that really matters about them and putting them first, and I use the Starbucks barista, I don't walk in there and say, I want a cup of coffee, this is the way I want it. It's like, "Hey, how's it going?" We talk, and I actually ask her, I genuinely care about her day, because when I walk in, it's usually early in the morning, and I'm not a morning person, so I'm assuming a lot of people aren't. So for somebody to get up there, work early, it takes a lot of energy. So you've got to make their day better as well. And I really worry about them and talk to them and build a relationship. So you're actually putting their interests first. And just by doing that, I build a relationship and receive referrals. So your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. As we talked about the golden rule of business, all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about networking. This part excites me. A lot of people, there's two ways of networking. And do we have Philip Ma here? Okay, I'm going to put Philip Ma on the spot today. Philip is a networking guru. Philip, welcome. Oh, are you not here? Can we not hear you? You might be on mute. Philip and I go way back when, and there's a section about there's a part about networking, and it's about meeting people at a networking event. And there's two ways of doing it. You can go into a session of networking and have 100 business cards and just start giving them out and hope for the best. Hopefully somebody's going to reach out to you. Hopefully you make a connection with yourself. I'm the opposite. When I go to a networking event, I may not even take business cards. I may take a couple, but my idea is to meet just a couple of people that are centers of influencers that I build a connection with, that are going to make more referrals to me or introduce me to more people in that event. Meeting 50 people by myself is difficult than meeting 2 or 3 people that know 50 people. I think we've talked a little bit about the law of 250 over the sessions. We're going to talk about that in a second. But the cultivating of mutual beneficial relationships is a give and take, win-win relationship. Now, if you think about a conversation that you've had, at a networking event or anywhere, and you come home and you say, you know, wow, that was a great conversation I had with this person. I'm going to use the word I can guarantee, and that's kind of being out there, but I can guarantee you that you did all the talking, and that's why you thought it was a great conversation. And the other person goes back and doesn't remember what you talked about because they're at a networking event. They're not paying attention to your verbal diarrhea. What they really want to do is really get to know you and once you know them personally, then you can start talking about business and that kind of stuff. You know, I love the people that you go into networking. Hi, my name is Licky and I do blah, 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 blah. And then give you a business card, walk away and go to the next person. Hi, my name is Licky, blah, 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 blah. Next person. And they're just hoping for the best. Whereas, you know, there's a, okay, I'm gonna just look at that, but I want to skip to the part that I think really makes a lot of fun here. Okay, here we go. Here's a, this has been around for a while. It's called Form. Now, the people that are online right now, majority of them, I can say I know the Form answers, a majority of the people that are on right now. And my job is to make sure that I know everybody's form to build a good relationship. Now, what does that mean? What that means is when I'm at a networking event, I start with any of these letters, and it could be, you know, somebody may have a cycling shirt on, or they may have a pin that says cancer on it. You start talking about those things as opposed to saying, hey, what are you about? What do you do? It's more about, I notice you've got the cancer pin. How are you affected? You know, and they'll say either, you know, family or they went through cancer. And you start talking about that. And that's the message. Once you understand what the message is, and that's the hardest part of the connection process. Once you find out what the social stance is, and it could be about charity, like AKFC's charity, it could be about cancer, it could be about diabetes, it could be about Run for the Cure, whatever that is. Once you figure that out, there's a conversation piece that you can have. Get to know what their recreation is. Do they like cycling, hiking, kayaking, paddleboarding, skiing? There's a commonality on that. Find out what they do. Not where they work. Find out what their day looks like, what their occupation actual role is, and then dig deeper into that. And then people love to talk about family, right? It's the easiest conversation. Oh, are you married? Do you have kids? And oh, how old are your kids? And you know, the wallet comes out or the phone comes out and you start showing pictures. But these are all the things that actually build a relationship. And once you have a relationship, then you can start looking at providing them value, start looking at giving them a lot more in return. And, you know, sorry, when you start building more value, you get more compensation. Remember, we talked about that. Now, why do you want to know these things? Philip is great at this. He'll ask these questions, and the next day or the day after, you'll actually get an email or a blog about something that he found out about you. And I've learned from him, and I kind of do the same thing. Whereas I will talk to somebody about paddleboarding or kayaking, and if that's their interest, I'll go back and do some research on where they live and what kind of paddleboarding is around or kayaking, and say, hey, you know, by the way, I was in your area and I found a cool little shop that sells these things. Have you heard about this? I'm still not talking business. I'm still building my relationship, building that network of people that are tighter. The message, if they're about social stance, about alleviating global poverty, start looking at what they do. Find out what type of charities are available and start giving them some more information on that. Do some research on it. None of this costs you money except for time. And like you said, you start building this relationship, and you know, and it's a proven fact. If you start building a relationship at a personal level, that relationship can and will turn into business, or they are a referral source. So I'm gonna have to go back now because I missed a whole section, but that form really excites me. So I wanna start going back into, okay. So Bob Berg has written the book Go Givers. He also has a book called The Endless Referrals. And in there, he breaks it down. You meet people, you engage them, you follow up and follow through, and you be a connector and a resource. Now, and then you ask for referrals correctly so you receive them. We talked a little bit about meet. We talked about, when you meet people, you deal with the form, you build the relationship. He says the simplest way to establish rapport is to smile. Not too sophisticated, we know, but it's the single most powerful path to rapport ever invented. There's a saying when you go into a networking event, or you notice the people that just don't want to be there. And the interesting part is, they're probably as nervous as you are about meeting people, but they're just not smiling. If people just smile at a networking event, they're approachable. It's the people that are really nervous and not showing what they do. You want to go talk to them because you want to open them up and get to know them because they're very nervous. And they may be your biggest ally to building referrals. So, go for the underdog. Don't go for the person that's smiling, laughing, has got 30 people around them. You get to that point, but build that relationship with somebody who needs the conversation. So there's some interesting ways of, once you build that relationship about the form, people love to talk about themselves, remember. They love to talk about what they do, how they got into it. They're excited. Remember, the idea at a networking event is to capture their information and not do verbal diarrhea from yourself. And the only way to do that is keep on asking some questions. Here's a great one. How did you get started in the widget business? Or how did you get started in the real estate business? What got you into sales? What do you most enjoy about what you do? You look like you're having a blast. What makes your day so great? I'd love to share. I'd love to hear that. So we can share that. This is a great way of getting referrals, is to ask them, hey, I love what you do. You show some incredible energy in how things work for you. What's an ideal, if I'm speaking with somebody, what's a good prospect or a client that I can recommend for you? I invite you to look at my LinkedIn connection and see if there's somebody you want to meet. But I love the energy you put out. I'd love to pass on some referrals to you because I think whoever I pass on would really benefit from your energy level. Now, you're not asking for referrals, you're just giving them. Now, interesting enough, every time I've done this, they ask me the same question back. And when they do that, you build that relationship, you're done. They're your center of influence, you've got that referral source. Hey, Philip, now I can see you, great. We're going to give you some of these feel-good questions. I think it's a great way of building a relationship. A lot of people are nervous when they go to networking events. A lot of people not really sure what to do, so they revert back to start talking about themselves and telling them what they do and how they do it. And then they say, hey, by the way, is anybody that you can think that needs to buy a house or needs to buy a car, or is there somebody can help us donate money? That's the after part after you've actually built a relationship. So, Simon, you're going to send this information to them, right? Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you. So I want to go back into form. So once you build a relationship, you need to have a benefit statement and help somebody do something, or how you do something for somebody. What does that look like? How do you make it simple? Here's some examples of, there's a realtor right there. I help people successfully market their home and buy the perfect dream home. I don't just sell houses. I don't just sell computers. I don't just crack people. I meant chiropractors, nothing else. We're on track and being clean here. So chiropractor, I help people heal themselves naturally without drugs. Financial advisors, I help people create and manage wealth. I invite you to create your own benefit statement. And what does that look like? Graphic artists. I love this graphic artist one. I show you how to present your perfect image to those with whom you want to do business with.
Vicky, I'm not sure if you can you hear me now?
I can. Now I can.
Perfect. So I just want to speak up here.
Okay.
You have done a really good job with this part, with the benefit statement, because when I first met you, this was something that you helped me out with. And it does make a difference because it doesn't say about your occupation. It talks about what you transform other people. So if you ever get a chance to talk to Leaky, the way that he presents himself and his own introduction, that's exactly what he does. And it does make a huge difference. And that impression goes a long way.
Yeah, and ours it's really simple. It's basically we help people get to where they want to get to. And
yeah.
then the conversation starts, well, what do you mean by that? Well, a lot of people don't understand where they want to be in life, and we help them define where that is, and then we take them to that level, and we actually have fun doing it on the way. And still, they're still not clear exactly what we do, but they get the big picture. Okay, now I need to figure out where I want to be and what I want to do, and these guys are going to help us get there. So it's not all about, I'm a business coach and blah, 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 and this is what I do. It's really about what the feeling is. Thanks for that plug in there, Philip, and then I'll pay you later. I invite you to really create your own benefit and how to know statement. And if you guys want help with that, please reach out to us. This is what we're here for. This is not easy stuff. It's requires a mind space that blank you create from nothing, where you can actually start creating your own identity, and it works out really well. Now, the how to know statement is really interesting. If you come across someone who seems to be rubbing their neck a lot, or has their hand constantly on their back, or is moaning in discomfort, there's a good chance that person would be an excellent patient for me. I guess I'm talking about a chiropractor, right? So people want to know what's an easy way of giving a referral or asking for referrals. I can't stress this part enough. If you say something, you're going to do something, you need to do it. And you can't do it 2 weeks later. It has to be done within 24 to 48 hours. Imagine somebody ran into you and said, "Hey, yeah, you know what? I'll send you that information, and it's great to meet you, and we'll get you that information." And all of a sudden, you hear nothing from them, so you've forgotten them. Now, also remember, when you meet somebody and you leave, you made an impression, but that's it. That conversation's over. They're not thinking about you all the time. You're thinking about them because you want them as a referral. They're not thinking about you. The only way they'll remember you again is if you make an impact within 24 to 48 hours. So if you said something, follow up. And I love this one here, a handwritten note card. It is so neat now. I don't have it in front of me here, but we get handwritten cards from Bob Berg all the time. So he has something like this, and realtors do a great job with this. Except now even the realtors are automating this and not handwriting it. It's more of a card that has a picture on it, which is good. But I love even this one here that I'm showing you. I think it's too marketing related. They've got a new one now where Bob just has his picture and nothing else on it, and he just writes, "Licky, thanks a lot for that conversation. It was a great pleasure meeting you," and signs it and sends it off. Just remember, I think my inbox, and Sam, I can attest to this, my inbox is about 250 emails a day. So if you're sending me a thank you email to say it was great meeting you and blah, 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 if I haven't read it on my phone, I probably won't get to it for a week or two. If I haven't flagged it, it's probably not going to get read. So if you really want a connection with me, send me a handwritten note. I will get it because I love opening the mail, because usually it's bills or checks, but then it's also letters and cards. So I invite you to look at that as an option of doing it, touching people's lives with personal follow-ups. This one's really interesting. Sending relevant information. We talked a little bit about find out what their recreation is, send information about that. I'm getting a bit of a time crunch here. I just looked at that. We're at 8:47. I've got a few more slides to go. So I'm going to go a little faster if you guys don't mind. Send information on what their needs are, recreation, send them a blog link, whatever else that looks like. So I'm going to just skip through here a bit. This is an example of a blog that we send out. Water cooler talk is so prevalent in every single business, and that's the issue where culture starts diminishing. And whenever we speak with somebody and they start talking about that, we send them this little blog. And this gets them excited about, hey, okay, I understand what that means. So let's talk about that a little bit further. Now you can also see that in this blog, there's a section about registering to get more of our articles. So now we've engaged them. Now we're going to give them some value. Now remember, this is not, now imagine, I'm not selling our services. I'm just helping them get value for their business at this point. Now, be a connector resource. So, how do you ask for a referral? So today I'm going to ask all of you, we've been talking for 3 weeks now. Now, is there anybody that you can think of that could use this value conversation? That could possibly be in a relationship where they're not seeing value, could be in a business sales process that they need to show some value. Anybody that you think that could get this conversation and do something with it, if you could let us know, we can send them this information. I'm being sincere. I know we've done what we need to do to ask for that. I have no problems doing that. Now, if we had more time and we were in one-to-one, I'd say, hey, Philip, I'm hoping you got some value out of this conversation. Is there anybody else that you can think of? Would you have a few minutes right now to go through some of those lists and maybe let's look at some of our LinkedIn connections and see if there's a way we can sit down right now and find out who we can give business to each other, because we've built some relationships. This is not my first meeting with you. This is a few weeks into our conversations and our friendship that we can do that. And it's great. So I invite you to really start looking at learning how to ask the proper way of a referral. Okay, so Simon, can we please send this as well? Getting referral tracking is really important.
Yes, it's already there.
Okay, thank you. So once you become proficient at obtaining referrals, you control your environment. You control the type of person you'll be speaking with. You control the quality of the people you present to. You control how often you present. I remember the first session I did, I said to everybody, I said, this is really hard for me. I'm talking to a camera. I'm not talking to live people. And I'm a connector. I love that interaction with people. My energy level picks up when people talk back and we have conversations. So this is very difficult. A referral base is so much easier. So when you get a referral, the quality and the control on how you speak becomes so much easier as well. I'm not going to get into this, but it's basically, it just shows, imagine the sales you do and your customer lifetime calculation that you do, and then your referrals you get based on incentives and influencers is incredible. So now, one thing that we haven't talked about, we're at, what time? 8:52. the law of 250. So there's a study that Bob Berg and John David Mann did. They went to funeral homes and asked, how many people actually show up at a funeral? And the funeral homes average said about 250. Then they went to wedding reception halls and asked the same question, and the answer was very similar. It's about 250. So what they said to us is, listen, the person you're talking to knows 250 people. They may have 3,000 Facebook friends or 2,000 LinkedIn connections. Those aren't the people that they really know. They actually know 250 people. So I guess what I'm saying is that if something happens to me and I pass, hopefully 250 people will show up at my funeral. If that's the case, the people that I'm talking to right now, the 10 people that are on this webinar, there's only 10, but if I multiply that by 250 each, what my job is to build enough value to the 10 of you so that you guys can go to your 2,500 connections and say, hey, you guys got to go talk to Dante because they do this. So I invite you, so when you're talking to a referral or building a connection, you're actually talking to the 250 people that they know. Because the idea is to talk past them so they can actually understand what you're about and they can talk about you to their 250 people. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to get out there and make a phone call to all 250 people. What I'm saying is that when they run into somebody, one of those 250, and they have a pain point that relates to you, they're going to talk about you. Realtors, I mean, it's everybody needs a home, right? Most people are in the market for a move or a change in their lifetime. The person you're talking to, they know 250 people. Your referral source just became incredible. Your marketing lead generation source is your referral source. So look at that as an option. Here's some action items that we're gonna send out to you guys. Next week, we're gonna talk about law of authenticity. It's a really simple conversation. Then we're gonna do law of receptivity. We did a session with AKFC on Friday in Ottawa with that, and the feedback we received was incredible. Just the opening of the relationship that built around the conversation around law of receptivity makes a huge difference in what life ends up as. So after that session, these 5 laws really take place and really come together. I'm going to open this up for the next 5 minutes for a Q&A, and I'm hoping to get some answers or questions from you guys. All right. Anything that you want to ask? Now you're all shy.
What's your favorite feel-good question, Mickey?
You know, I love the one about you seem really excited in what you do. How did you get into this? What got you to this place? And then it's usually a 5-minute conversation because they start talking about their childhood and what happened here, and then they get to where they are. And that gets them excited, gets them engaged. And I actually get a good background about everything about that person.
Thanks.
Okay, so no questions. We're going to send this information off to you guys. We look